Okay, we're going to get going here in just a minute with the mastermind. If just as a reminder, you want to put your company information down in the chat. If you want to introduce yourself, you'll be able to introduce yourself if your camera is on. So if you don't want to introduce yourself, just know that these videos are available for replay on our YouTube channel, Mighty Website Builder, and we are going to have a lot of fun. So I'd love to get to know everybody. Let me go ahead and X out of the YouTube there and make sure we're still going good here. Let's see. All right. Well, just so everyone knows, my name is Michael Reed. My brand is Mighty Mike. That's my thing. And I'm so excited to be able to do this for you guys. This is week 9, I believe, and of 10. So we've been doing this for a little bit. So you definitely want to go watch the replays if you have not been coming along with us. For those of you guys that don't know, I build websites. This is sponsored by my website building company called mightywebsitebuilder.com. And right now we're doing 84% off the setup fee, which makes it pretty cheap to get a really awesome website. So let's go ahead and dive in. The first person on my screen here is Joanne. Joanne, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Joanne Thompson. I applied to be a process server here in Palm Beach County, Florida. My application has been approved, but I'm waiting for the sign-in ceremonies. It's a little bit backlogged due to COVID. They don't know how they're going to do it, if they're going to do it live or via Zoom. So I'm just kind of in limbo right now until things get started.
Yeah, COVID's kind of messed a lot of things up like that. So all we can do is all we can do, but it's good to have you. Thank you. Okay, next person on my screen here is Don. Oh, hold on, Don. Hold on. You're muted. There we go.
That's me. I'm Don Dickey. I'm located in Central Texas, south of Austin, and north of San Antonio. Mike is the one that built my website, and I give him a lot of credit for that, and appreciate working with him.
Thanks, Don. I appreciate it. Yeah, Don, you got a lot going on too with your notary and process serving, now investigation. And so that's one thing, one question people have for me usually is, well, I got all these things I do and is it going to cost me extra? And no, I'll build completely custom for you. So, all right. Thanks, Don. Welcome. All right. And it looks like that's all we have for video participants. I know we have some people watching on YouTube and Facebook. So listen, this mastermind we used to do every day. For those of you guys that don't know, we used to do it, once a week. And then we did it once a month. And now this is just a 10-week mastermind where I'm going over all the basics. I have Mr. Gary Clayton, who's committed to coming on today, mainly because he's got some stories to tell. Also, just as a way of information, I'm going to mute you guys. If you have anything to say, you can unmute yourself. Not a big deal. Just we want to keep it down as best we can. So Gary had a situation that I'll let him tell about if he comes on, but basically understanding how to stay safe in the field. I pulled together some articles to kind of direct us. I'm not going to read them to you, of course. I don't want to bore you to death. Because nobody likes being read to, right? So, but I am going to go over some of these resources so that we can understand what it is and where we can look to get more information and just keep ourselves safe. To be honest with you, I'm the guy who always thought, safety is boring. I'm tough. I can take care of myself, whatever. But as I got older and more experienced, I learned that just one little thing, one little tip, one little way of doing things different can save you a lot of heartache, whether it's from a dog bite to to an uncomfortable situation trying to get back to your car. So we're going to talk about a couple things, and we're going to keep it somewhat brief. I know everybody's got to get out there and make some money and spend time with family. So let's dive into it. So the first thing is, I always like to do the introductions. We'd like to talk about local news and things that are going on in the mastermind, and then dive into instructions. So if Gary shows up, I know he's running like 3 or 4 businesses, so he may not come with us today, but that's okay. We have a track and a bunch of stuff we're going to go over. So the first thing I want to mention is when you're out there. Let's see here. People coming in. As people come in, I'll just let them in, and we'll just keep on keeping on here. So the first thing I want to mention is kind of a unique new well, it's not new, but it's kind of a unique way of tracking and keeping track of people that locations that are bad. So let's say you go to a place and the guy was violent with you, put his hands on you. Yeah, that was a bad situation. There's actually a cool website that, I mean, I like it. I don't know the full story behind Aaron, so I'm not going to try to tell it. But Aaron's list. Let's see here. Aaron's list is a website that you can go to, and what they've done is they've integrated. Can I get a thumbs up? Can you guys see my screen? Awesome. So that what they've done is they've integrated with some of the bigger companies' softwares, so that when you entered the address and you put in your address where you had a violent situation or just maybe a rabid dog or something, Aaron's list has integrated with those bigger companies to inform you that that could be a dangerous situation. Right, because Aaron apparently was a process server who went to a place, and apparently it was a violent place that process servers has been to many times before, and she had no clue, and was killed. And so again, I don't know the full story, so I'm not going to try to go into details, but so you can enter an address. I'm just going to enter an address. Let's see if I can do a zip code. Okay, good. So if you can put in a zip code, and it'll tell you roughly if there are any in that area. And if you dial it back, you'll start to see them. Let's see. I don't know what's the Bronx. Let's actually do like LA. Let's see. 90210. Okay, none found here either. Let's see. So depending on the area depends on whether it'll show any, but I've looked at it before and it had a whole bunch. So, I would just recommend going in and playing with it and seeing, but I know on the actual I know Gary's the one that showed me this. It actually has where they have these things where people have been, it'll tell you the incidences. So let's see here. So we'll come back to this if Gary comes on. So, but the first thing you could do is enter an address, and you can actually report. You can actually report a situation. You can ask them to. You can comment here and ask them, "Hey, what's going on? Why can't I find any of these things?" But yeah, Aaron's list is great. Another resource here, and we're going to get into some best practices here in a second. But another really good resource here is this. It's called Papers, PAAPRS, and I'm going to actually put each of these in the chat for you guys in here in Zoom, so you can just like copy and paste it. But there's this one. And if you guys are watching on YouTube or Facebook, you can actually go to the website, mightywebsitebuilder.com, and click on Mastermind. You guys can join this list where I send out the link. If you don't have the link, if you're not getting emailed the Zoom link, the weekly Zoom link, go there so that I can start sending you the link, and you can be here with us getting all this great resources. So this one here is a while back that I found out about it, but essentially it does the same thing as Aaron's list does, but except for they're actually trying to leverage. See here, they mention Aaron's list right here, but they actually are leveraging their Papers campaign is actually trying to help legislation by getting signatures to petition to make assaulting a process server a felony. And they're doing this in other states and all over the place. So there's a little map of process server assaults. You can report a process server assault right here in their Google Forms. And the main reason you want to do this is so that other people that go there won't be assaulted as well. So that's kind of the idea. Okay, this right here, Process Server Institute, is a really good resource to it's a California company, and but this guy, every association, every state has their guy who's been around forever, who knows like all the local laws and was a part of establishing the association. Well, this guy's name is Tony Klein, and he's one of those guys for California. Him and Andy Eston have pretty much written half the legislation and stuff for process servers. So he has this website. He doesn't post a whole lot, and when he does, it's always gold. And so I would suggest going to this website. I'll put this in the chat as well. And let me see here. Where's my chat? There it is. Put this in the chat as well. Process Server Institute. He's got his own school where he teaches this kind of stuff, writs and levies. But anyway, this website actually tells you the laws for interfering or assaulting a process server in every state. So here's Florida. In Florida, it's actually deemed a felony, the way the verbiage is. And I think we have it right here. The law makes it a felony to assault members of law enforcement, right? That's not us, as well as probation officers. That's not us. And individuals legally authorized to execute process in the execution of legal process or in the lawful execution of any legal duty, and is punishable with 5 years in prison. So this is a felony in Florida if you read the law that way. And so you got to know your state. I know we got people from different states watching and participating. So definitely go check out this article. Let me see here. There's Texas. Preventing execution of civil process. So why do you want to know this? If you're a process server out there and somebody's assaulted you, or even like got in your face or like brandished a gun or something, you need to know what the laws are, because oftentimes the police officers don't even know your role in what you're doing oftentimes. So if you know, you be the expert. It's your duty to be the expert. So when he shows up, you can go Penal Code section 3816, preventing execution of civil process. If a cop gave the paper to you and said, get out of here, you're trespassing, you could tell him, actually, you're violating, I'm not giving legal advice. You got to do what you need to do. But I'm just saying, if you know this stuff, then you can actually get the job done and stay safe at the same time. So, all right. So I hope this is helpful so far. That's that one. Here's another. That was the penal code for Florida. I looked it up because it's a little ambiguous on the code, but this actually spells it out for you. This is another Serve Now article. So I wanted to mention this because I think it's genius. I think it's a genius thing that hasn't really been marketed very much. I actually ordered one from a friend's friend. It's a bulletproof clipboard. Now, it might seem crazy, but a clipboard could get pretty big. And with these bulletproof clipboards, they get a little bit heavy, but you can get them that are pretty good size, like a pretty good width and stuff that could separate you from an assailant or from a dog. I think it's probably one of the best investments you could make. And if it's bulletproof and you're getting shot at, cover your heart. Cover your heart and face, and then back away and get out of there. So I just think it's one of the best investments, especially for like $100 or 40, between 40 and $100 for one of these clipboards. I'm a big fan of clipboards to begin with, but a bulletproof clipboard, I think it's genius. So we'll do Q&A here at the end. I would love to hear what everybody has to say. Go ahead and comment too below if you got a comment you want to share in regards to processing. So I'd be remiss without mentioning COVID during these times. And so I'm going to go ahead and just touch on this article here by Process Server Toolbox, Database Services, whatever you want to refer to them as. Process servers come in contact with many different people. And so it gives you a few little tips: cleaning your car, disinfecting, hands and soap, avoid close contact, or just simply stay at home. But don't do that. Go out and serve some papers, right? Let's see. Yeah, so these are some basic sanitation tips for you guys. Definitely a good article to check out. All right, so this is the one I wanted to really go into, because as a new process server, you tend to just see get the job done, right? Go out, serve the paper, get it done. You're just done, right? Well, in this case, you start to learn the hard way, little by little, how to stay safe. And I don't want to spend too much time on this, but just kind of going through these. Make sure your car's in good working order. I can't tell you how many times when I very first started, I had this cool, beefy Mitsubishi Montero with like these roll bars and front push. I thought it was so tough and cool, and I had no idea what the job was about. I thought security guard type or whatever. So I'm driving up into the hills. This thing had no air conditioner or heater. And I don't know why. It was a fairly nice car, but it just had no air conditioner or heater. And I'd have the windows down. Anyway, I remember going up there and the car stalling in the middle of the mountains where there's like this drug dealer I was trying to serve a restraining order on, and the car broke down. I was just like, this can't be happening to me. So when I actually signed the papers to buy my new car, my Prius, I didn't hesitate a second. I was like, having a good working car is everything when you're serving papers. Your spare tire. Yeah, you don't want to end up with a spare tire. So they're going into some great detail here. I won't go through all of it, but a first aid kit with tweezers and okay. Yeah, there's a lot of really good stuff there. You can look at that. Prepare for the job. Know the documents you're serving is a really good one. If you go out there and you're serving a restraining order and you think it's like a probate document because someone passed away, just something that's not super adversarial and you're just delivering it, but it's actually a restraining order, you might get yourself punched in the face. You need to know what you're dealing with. You need to know how to talk to people. So for example, if I'm going to go serve a restraining order, I'm not going to assume anything, but I am going to take some precautions, right? So one thing Gary said, because I don't see him on yet, but one thing that he said was that he would go to the door, and if the door opens this way, let's say it opens on this side, the door opens like this, you're not going to stand on that side of the door because they can simply put a gun out and shoot at you. But if you stand on the other side of the door where they would have to go around the door, go to a door after this call and see what I'm talking about. You could see that if you're standing around the other side of the door, they would have to stick it out the door and around the door in order to point it at you. And it's sad that we even have to talk about this, but it's the truth. It's the kind of stuff that we deal with. So I'm going to put this article in here too, but when you go to a door like that, you want to also just stand back, take a moment to stand back. You don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. That's another good article there. Okay. Let's see here. Working in a rural area, let friends and family know where you're going to go. I mean, if something worst case scenario, if something happens, like do people know where you're at? Do they know what area you're driving to? If they had to explain to law enforcement the last place you went, might somebody find you and be able to like save you if you had to, right? There's a lot of technology out there now that you should maybe utilize if you're putting yourself in that situation a lot. My phone actually has this crazy thing that I set up where whenever I push all three buttons at the same time, it takes a picture this way, that way, and then immediately records 60 seconds audio and then text messages it to my loved ones, through up to 3 loved ones. And so I've accidentally done it a couple of times, and I get a call saying like, "Are you okay?" Yeah, I just was getting in the car and accidentally hit all 3 or whatever. So know your state's rules regarding mace and body cameras and all that stuff. Definitely every resource you want to use. Execute to serve. So this is probably the most golden nuggets right here, because when you go to serve something, when I first started, I got to tell you, I would jump fences. I would do all kinds of stuff. I learned that the best way to serve a paper is to let them come to you. It might mean that you go do a second attempt, but if that means I'm 1,000 times safer and I'm serving them from my car, I can't tell you how many papers I served out my car window. Because I just was in the right place. I can't tell you how many times I learned how to honk my horn and then apologize any kind of anger away. Now, if you're not good at that, you don't know what you're going to do, then don't do it. But I tell you, there's been times where there's a gate, there's a house, I'm there, I honk the horn, they come out, "So sorry, you just have your dog. I didn't want to have to jump the fence or go around or whatever." And they go, "Oh, no problem." They might have been irritated when they first came out, but I was so kind, so nice. They just kind of like, melt. And they're like, "Okay, hey," they're still a little maybe irritated or whatever. They're like, what, how can I help you? And then I deliver the papers and I say, "These are legal documents, blah, blah, blah." Now they're pissed, but I'm in the car and I'm driving away. Okay. So this is how, probably a short version of the best way to stay safe. If you believe the area for any for an evening service not safe. Yeah. So if you go to an area and it's dark and you have a flashlight, there's a whole nother element of anger that you'll get if you put a spotlight on a father's daughter's window, right? You know, you drive up to a house and you got a spotlight, and this has happened to me. The spotlight, an address, you get really good at raising the thing as you go from house to house, trying to make sure you get the right address. You pull over, you accidentally hit the daughter's window. He's already outside in your face. Why are you putting a spotlight on my daughter's window? Just be safe, be courteous, kind, and it's amazing how much you can actually get done. Do not serve too late at night. I've served all times. And again, being courteous. You're not going to knock on somebody's door at 1 o'clock in the morning. I like to say it like this, and this is how most process servers that I know handle it. If you're out there serving and somebody is being evasive, well, they've requested for you to go ahead and take it to the next level. They've said, okay, go ahead and come late. That's how I look at it. If somebody's being evasive, they're not answering the door, I can see them inside. Well, they're asking for me to sit outside and wait for them to leave so I can serve them. They're asking me to. So that's kind of how I look at it. I'm not going to be a jerk and like come all crazy in the middle of the night or like, come jumping out of a bush or whatever on the first attempt. Like, I don't know why I would bring that kind of negativity on myself by doing that. Okay. It's just kind of common sense. Do not serve too late. Use sidewalk. Okay. After knocking on the door, ring the doorbell. Never turn your back on a person you're serving. That's really good advice. I think a lot of times we like to pretend like everything is fine, turn around and walk away. But people will surprise you. Actually, dogs are more predictable than people. A dog is angry and wants to bite you. He wants to bite you. He's not trying to hide it. A human will flash on you in a second. Mike Kern talks about a scenario I mentioned before that when he went inside, the sweet lady made him cookies or whatever. He goes inside, sits on the couch, and then the husband goes, "Why are you here?" An old couple, and he goes, "Why are you here?" And he goes, "Oh, I got some legal documents. I gave them to your wife or whatever." And he goes, "I'm gonna go get my gun." Here you are sitting on the guy's couch inside his house. Not a good place to be in. And he struggled getting the screen door open, ended up breaking it, trying to get out. So never go in the house. Serve immediately and leave. This was something that was hard for me when I first started serving. The gal who kind of trained me, gave me tips and stuff, she said, don't be a lawyer. Don't try to explain everything. Just serve and leave. Still one of the hardest things. I found my way to kind of say like, "Oh, thank you so much. Okay. All right. Take care." Don't offer additional assistance or advice or anything. It's basically SHARP. In California, there's a program called SHARP that will help them like prepare their legal documents or whatever. I just tell them, I think there's a program in the courthouse called SHARP. You might want to give them a call. So I feel like I'm being helpful, but at the same time, it's nothing that will come back to bite me. That's kind of the way that I would go about it. And just not lingering, because things can have a way of turning in a moment's notice. The angry boyfriend or husband that's inside doesn't even know she's getting served. She wouldn't even tell him. But now that he hears a man's voice at the door and he wants to come and see who it is, you would have already been gone if you weren't trying to be the nice guy. So just serve it and leave. It's really good advice. Yeah, work to de-escalate. Don't try to be the tough guy. Someone yells at you, you don't start yelling back. You just, "I apologize, I'm leaving." We've seen actual video recently of a guy. I was going to bring it up, but I didn't want to be sensational. The guy was arguing with the person he had just served. And I think it turned out the person was a councilman or something. Anyway, and he ended up shooting the process server on his front lawn. And he tried to get out of it with stand your ground. And I think they ended up getting him because it's all on video, that the process server was on his way leaving and there was no threat to the guy. But anyway, he still shot him. So that's the final thing I want to say when it comes to being at the door and actually serving out in the field. It doesn't matter if you think you're right, because you might be right, but it doesn't matter if you're right and you're in the right if you're dead. right? So it only matters if you're now safe in your car down the road. That's the only way it really matters. So other than that, we all have our own little ways that make it easier for us to get the job done and staying safe out there. So guys, the mastermind, the idea is to give a quick 15-minute, teaching, principles, and then get your guys' feedback, your questions and answers. Everyone has something to share that could be really valuable. So I don't pretend to be the know-it-all here, just kind of I'm presenting in Gary's stead. And then we can do questions and answers about other things. Marketing is kind of my strong suit. So if you guys have questions about marketing, we can go into that. We can go into the safety stuff. So let's go ahead and open it up to you guys. I need to pull up YouTube as well. Those that are on Zoom, do you guys have any questions? You can feel free to unmute yourself, or you can type them in the chat. Let's see.
I don't really have a question, but a comment. I had one situation in the past. The guy was, he's trying to avoid it. He didn't want to take the papers, but he headed to his car. And besides going back into the house, going to somebody's car can be as much of a threat as them going to get a gun in the house, because when he opened the door and he reached in the middle of the console, I backed to the street and I left. Cars are another thing to be cautious of. They can either get in the car and try to run you over, or they can be reaching for something else. So just an observation from past experience.
Yeah, thank you, Don. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the cars oftentimes are where people do hide extra little weapons and stuff that they're not going to keep in the house around the family or whatever too. Yeah, definitely a good point. Also just in regards to being ran over, there was a time, I don't know if you saw it, Don, I think I did a Facebook Live back in my my crazy days. I actually chased somebody in my car. We had a high-speed chase in the car. It was not my wisest of decisions. I mean, I got her served, but the reality is I could have drop served her on her car and let her drive off with the papers. But a part of me was like, it's not good enough. I wanted her to feel like she was served. And it took me another hour following her all around town, and, me getting out of the car in the middle of an intersection with her backing up all crazy into a ditch, and the police came, and just all this stuff. But I could have just left it on the top of her car, and she drove off, and it's my word against hers, and she was served, right? So as you do this business, you start to learn, hopefully not the hard way, and looking back on the decisions you made, and learn from me, learn from my mistakes, learn from Don, different people who've done this business for a long time. Wish I could have got Gary on. Gary's a good guy. He knows his stuff too. I'll just tell his story since we're about to wrap it up. Gary, I was up in Oregon, and he'd served some of these places in the middle of nowhere. And this one serve that he had, I won't mention names or anything, but he went to this one serve and knocked on the door, and the guy that answered the door came out, and Gary just looked up and saw a shiny gun and just heard click, 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 click. As he's running to his car, he's hearing the clicks, thinking like, I'm not dead and I'm not hurting. So, and he was scared, of course, and he hides behind his car as the guy keeps clicking, coming off the porch, an old man that was, kind of shaking as he was shooting. And come to find out, the police came and everything, and come to find out, he's senile, and he had a nurse that would come and take care of him and stuff. And then a few weeks later, they didn't take his gun, and we won't get into gun control or any of that. I'm not trying to say that. It's really sad, because a few weeks later, his nurse was shot. He shot his nurse dead. And so, guys, you never know what you're dealing with out there. You really don't. And so that's why Gary's story is really shocking to me, because, you just never know. And I know some people that say they, oh, I've never needed a gun. And that's great. You're really good with your words. You're really smart about situations. But just keep in mind, if you have a question about what it means to carry a gun, I'm a big proponent of guns. But when it comes to process serving with a gun, you better know what you're doing, and you better be Johnny on the spot who's going to your shooting range every Monday, and you're like captain of the gun player. You got to be well trained and educated before you start carrying around a cannon, because what if someone takes it from you? That's my biggest fear. So when it comes to carrying, and then some companies don't even allow you to carry. So some companies you serve for, they won't give you work if you carry. So yeah, I mean, we could go on about safety all day long and how to stay safe. Some other things, when it comes to, I mean, you could talk about, I mean, we're talking about physical safety and just, health safety stuff. I mean, you could get into health insurance, which is really hard in this industry to try to get health insurance of any kind without paying a bunch of money. So what other questions you guys have or comments? Don's comment was good. Any comments too? Let's see, YouTube. Okay, no comments on YouTube. So if we don't have any other comments or questions, I just want to encourage you guys to come to these masterminds every week on Wednesdays. We have one more before Christmas, and I am really excited that it's an old marketing person that worked for ServeNow, and she's just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to SEO and citations and getting your website to rank. And so, I mean, she knows probably about as much as I do about it, in all my humble opinion. And so she's going to come on. She's going to help us make sure that we're all dialed in with our website. So marketing. So next week, if you want to help your marketing your website, definitely come next week. Actually, I'm going to post something here in the chat for you guys as well. It's called, and this is a company, they might reach out to you if you use them, but it's okay. You don't have to hire them, but it's localseo.farotech.com. Put your website and information in there to them. They're going to call you and try to get you to sign up with them or whatever. But the reason why you want to put your information there is it'll give you a list of all the citations where you're not listed. And if you are listed, it'll tell you if it matches up. And why would you do this? Because the better your citations are, the better your listings essentially with all these directories are, the better Google's going to rank you. That is a huge ranking factor when it comes to Google. So Joanne says, do you recommend process server companies for new process servers to gain experience? Absolutely. Don could probably speak to that too. ABCs and the Nationwides and all these companies, they're going to give you work at a discounted rate, sometimes really discounted. But if you can serve 5 things on your way across town, or one thing, for an attorney, you're making a lot more money serving those 5 things. So, and it gives you experience too. Don, did you have anything you want to say about
that? Yeah, I basically agree with that, but don't limit it to that. Go out and explore and market and get your own direct connections as soon as you can. But it's really nice if you've got a week with 20 different jobs and you can get those done and then go market on your own, maybe get a few more over a period of time, 6 months to a year, then you can break away from the smaller companies or large big box companies.
That's true. And even though they want you to serve for a discounted rate, you're going to learn, you're going to get that experience. So for example, the very first thing I ever did was a subpoena. I served a subpoena, and I learned that these bank subpoenas I could serve on anybody that's breathing at the bank, basically, because they're just subpoenas for records, right? So I didn't know that before I served it. So I served it. I learned that. So when someone called me and said, "Can you serve a subpoena?" I knew how it could be served because I took the classes, but I knew the business side of it because I served it, if that makes sense. When I served an eviction, I learned the whole process in California is actually quite complicated. It's probably the most complicated thing in probably the country when it comes to process serving. California's laws and how it can be subserved and all this stuff and the diligence requirements. So once I learned that, and served that became my specialty. So when somebody would call, I would say, yeah, I'm an eviction specialist. I just kind of made up that term, eviction specialist. And I found out California actually has a term called unlawful detainer assistant. So I became an unlawful detainer assistant so that I could actually prepare the evictions. So it's like the more you learn, the more you earn, the more connections you make with people that know this kind of stuff. It's just kind of just synergy. It just starts building on top of itself. And that's why these masterminds are good, because you get connected with people that see things a little differently. They've had different experiences. If we had Mike Kern on, he would tell you, every time I talk to him, he's got, I just got, 12 new accounts, with Chase or whatever, from this place or that place. And I always laugh because, the level that you're at is how the volume that you're going to get. And as you get bigger and bigger and bigger and your company grows, you're going to be able to attract those larger clients, those larger contracts. And so you just got to keep working at it. And if you're new, start connecting with your local process servers. Hey, do you have any serves you want me to do? Are you going out of town for Christmas? I'd love to kind of collaborate, and don't just be the person, calling needing a serve, but be the person that says, hey, I'm looking for somebody to serve my stuff when I go out of town. Do you have anything that you want me to do? Because I'd be happy to do it for you. And I'll give you a real good rate on it as well. And that person will serve you for years and years to come as a friend, and it'll make your business look bigger too. We got somebody coming on here. So so as we're growing and as we're doing this stuff, it allows us to be able to expand our businesses when we connect with those more local companies. So we're just about wrapping it up here, but do we have any other questions from they could be marketing related, safety related? Lay it on me. All right. Well, let me refresh my YouTube here. See if there's any other questions. Okay, good. Nothing on YouTube. So again, if you guys aren't following the YouTube channel, Mighty Website Builder, go check that out. You guys can get lots of resources, all kinds of process serving stuff, tons of marketing resources, and just let me know how I can help you. Definitely want to, if you don't have a website, go check out mightywebsitebuilder.com. That's the sponsor of the Mastermind. And you can actually put your website, if you already have a website, just like that local search tool that I showed you, this tool will actually, I have to pay every time you do this, which I don't mind, because it gives you a complete breakdown of your website. I call it the Flex tool. You just put in your business information. It'll scan your website the way that Google does, and it'll break down for you step by step the things that you need to do to completely optimize your website. I mean, my website scored a 37, and I'm pretty good at this stuff. So it gave me a big list of things that I could do to start fixing it. And then I just started plugging away, fixing those things. And so it's a pretty cool little resource there. So, well, thank you guys so much. If we don't have any other questions, we'll go ahead and end it. Don't forget, next week, we got marketing expert coming on, going to talk marketing with me. And if you're not following the Business Marketing 911 podcast, it's every Wednesday. I had a great interview today where we reviewed NAP's website and talked about all the things they could do to improve their website. And then I actually have another one, a bonus one today, with another marketing professional here in just about an hour. So Business Marketing 911 is my podcast for marketing. So, all right, you guys, stay safe out there, take some mighty action, and don't do anything I wouldn't do.
Thanks.